All right. So I said it was Jeremy. You get first bid.
Okay. I'll choose Rusviet Innovative, and I'll do. And I pick a number, right?
Yep. So you can bid just one, or technically you can bid 0 as well, since your first bid.
How about 14? Can I do that?
Oh, what?
Wow.
Is that a lot?
Seems
How many
like a
points you want to bid?
All right, 14 bidded by Jeremy. I'm gonna go next to Bumpkin. Do you want to raise that?
I'll be on.
No, first, do you want to raise on Rusviet?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. How about not foam off Ty? Do you want to raise on Rusviet?
Pass.
Kian? Oh, he's going for 15. All right.
Wow.
All right, so that's 2 passes. So we'll go back to Jeremy.
Jeremy, don't let him do that to you. Raise that bad boy.
Of course you want me to. Yeah, 16.
Nice.
16. Okay, going back to you, Kian.
Well, everyone else can still vote as well, can't they?
Well, they already passed,
We
so
passed.
they cannot
Oh, you
engage
can't.
in this anymore.
Oh, I see.
Doing the math.
Oh, Jeremy gets it.
You're giving it away?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, I thought I said it already.
Oh, you're good.
Should I sit down now?
Yeah, so you can sit down at Rusviet. So I'm going to just say that was 16. Jeremy.
Is that the biggest bid we've seen?
It
is, but it's the first time we've seen Rusviet in the tournament.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. So next bid, sorry, I think metal was last. So I'm going to say, not Ty.
Bumpkin.
You get starting bid on one of the other 3.
Okay. Can I have a second? I want to look at Crimea. Oh wait, I can't do that. Never mind. I will do 0 for Albion.
All right. So you start with a bit of nothing for Albion Industrial. What's it called? Does Ty want to raise?
Sure, let's go 1.
Okay. Kian, pass. All right. So do you want to raise on that, Bumpkin?
Yeah, I'll do 2.
Okay.
I will do 3.
Okay.
I'll do 5.
Oh,
I'll pass.
all right. 5 to Wild Pumpkin. All right, so Ty, you get first bid on one of the 2 remaining.
I'll do 0 on Crimea.
0 on Crimea. 3.
4.
Ooh.
6. 8.
Fast, and I can keep up with it.
You said 9. I'll pass. I'm up for a challenge. Let's do it.
No.
All right.
All right.
So 9 and 0 for Nordic. 2. That is Ty Wing. All right. You can sit yourself in your seats. And I guess that's our cue, Fomov.
Yeah, we'll duck out. You want to delete these items at the edge of the table? Just make it a little bit cleaner for everybody.
Sure.
Appreciate it. And I'll see you over there in lobby 2.
Cool.
Well, those were some high bids. Some of the highest bids in the tournament, in fact. We've seen Rust at Innovative for the very first time. We've kind of wondered how high it would go. It went for 16. But it's only, notably, 7 coins more than Crimea Agriculture. Albion Industrial at 5 is the big surprise to me. Have to see how that goes, because Nordic Militant for 0 is not that surprising, but for Albion Industrial to go as high as it went, a little bit of a surprise for me.
Right. As I was surprised by that too. Not as surprised as I was by Rustviet going straight to 14.
You know, Rustviet Innovative has lately, the way people have been playing it, been absolutely wrecking. It ends
Well, because
the game-
people just play it super fast, right?
Well, I mean, I heard about one person who got 100 coin in like 15 rounds with it.
Wow.
It's maybe the strongest combination in the game right now.
I guess because you can just spam out a lot of workers and then get on oil and then use that to just gain popularity and upgrades, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the sequence is. I was playing around with it a little bit earlier, but I had to go do some things. I know that it can theoretically end the game in 10 turns. I'm not completely sure what the tier 3 version of it is. So, all right, game's underway.
Got a very classic opening from Albion, going for taking that village before Nordic can take it from them and set them back quite substantially.
Nordic's going to get on metal and the farm immediately. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised because normally getting a few extra workers might be based on their objectives, which I'm in the. Do you want me to give you the master spot so you can see objective cards? Or probably not, because then they could see them, right?
No, I don't need to see that.
Okay.
Art to Grin, welcome to the stream. We got Crimea Agriculture went for 9. Albion Industrial went for 5. Nordic Militant went for 0. And Rustviet Innovative went for 16.
16 with an opening bid of 14.
They weren't messing around.
It is. We do have the green player is relatively new to Tabletop Simulator, so we might expect his turns to take a little longer.
Yeah. So Yarantar and I were talking a minute ago how we were surprised that Albion Industrial went for 5. That's I mean, I don't think of that as a particularly strong combo.
I mean, it's not terrible considering that it has oil and metal close to home, within that kind of home quote-unquote peninsula, even though it's not one for Albion. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's terrible. You could definitely generate a lot of coins that way, but it doesn't have a lot of movement into its combo, which is something that Albion often looks for so that they can kind of march their way out into the board a bit.
So do you think Nordic here is going to go with the 2-worker strategy for a little while?
I mean, based on that opening, yeah. It's just surprising you don't get an upgrade first. Normally, when you go for a 2-worker strategy, you go for an early upgrade so you can try and optimize like whatever little things you're doing.
Right.
I would have
Okay.
expected a produce before that move just to have that extra oil for an early upgrade.
Okay, we got a produce out of Albion. Nordic, of course, moved. Rustviet and Crimea both produced on the first turn.
Pretty standard opener.
So Nordic produced. We go for
So I
metal and
guess
food right away.
Nordic's going to go for a very quick enlist in order to try and gain as much as he can from probably the actions that Rusty is going to be taking.
Crimea's going for an upgrade here. Rustviet looks like they're going for the produce 3 times, get your first mech with that innovative board.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a strong strategy. Early mech plus all of your workers. There's reasons why Rustviet is by far the strongest faction.
All right, we got our first encounter here.
Go ahead and move that out of the way for him.
All right, he was able to swipe the card despite being new. That's good. Sometimes people pick up the whole deck when they're new, like
Go ahead and make
myself.
that visible to everybody.
All right, where we
So
go
let's
with
see
this
what our
card?
options are. Gain 2 power and 1 popularity. Show the farmer the control you have over your animal, right? Pay 2 to gain 4 power. Pay the farmer to strip his mech of all its ammo. Or pay 2 popularity to build 1 structure. Give your animal the signal to go berserk.
If he's planning to do upgrades, that $2 for 4 power almost guarantees him the power star.
Yeah, that is a good point because he can gain a whole lot of power off of the upgrade action based on. It looks like he's just going for the standard pop.
Yep.
2
2
power
power
and
and
a
1
pop.
popularity.
I still think that's probably enough because if he gets an upgrade onto his leftmost column, he'll be gaining at least 3 power a turn. If he gets an enlist too, you're talking about 4 power a turn every time he does an upgrade. Remember, you got to get 6 of them. So I think he's already going to get the power star. He doesn't need to worry about getting a little extra there.
That's
So
probably right. Thanks for the follow, Cow Panda.
as expected, early enlist from Nordic, going to try and get as many coins off of that mech action as possible.
Because he has trade over food with that militant board. He just needed 1 food to set up the trade, or to set up the enlist.
Right. So I guess he's just gonna finish out his enlists early by doing some produce trade enlist, and that will also get him enough metal to do a mech by the 3rd.
Yeah, that's a lot of produce actions.
Yeah, for only 2.
And for not climbing up that worker progression, for not getting more workers,
Yeah, I agree.
Because then if you're going to get that worker star, you have to turn around and get, 3 more produces after you do all that?
Right, and if you're going to do that, you probably would want to get that recruit token off of enlist earlier, so that way you can. I guess the idea was to get the coin off of Rustviet's first ploy, but
Got
I don't
our
know.
first star with Rustviet getting to 8 workers. And we're probably looking at, you think, a Riverwalk mech here?
I could see Riverwalk. I could also just see like a speed mech just to redeploy them across metal and oil.
Sure.
Plus, the speed mech has the added benefit to get your hero all the way to that in-island encounter.
Right.
Although, so does the Riverwalk.
Sure. Kind of a
yeah,
wash on that element.
Right. So I mean I agree with the speed here, because that lets you get a mech every time you produce. So
Right.
that lets you move your workers around so that you have the options to gain bottom rows every turn.
Okay, let's check in with Crimea here. Did we miss
Did,
they're going so fast here.
They did two produces as well as a trade for metal. So
Okay.
that trade for metal sets them up for the next time they have the option they can get deploy off. So they're probably looking at a similar strategy of get some workers out, then get that deploy out so they can mobilize those workers to
Yeah.
better utilize them.
So Albion's up to 2 metal. He needs 3 for his first mech.
Yep,
Um,
which he will get next time he produces because that's above his deploy.
So Crimea is definitely going with an 8-worker strategy as well as Rusviet.
That's what it looks like. I mean, it's possible
Surely
he
he's
stops
not-
now, but
He's not putting. Hey, Poach Stroud, how's it going? We got a Yarantar in the house tonight. Oh, hey,
you're in
Rail.
tar in the house tonight.
Just woke up from a nap. All right. Okay, so this is interesting. He's putting 7 of those 8 workers on the metal. So he's looking
Right.
at a surplus of metal.
He might be still deciding on moving. Is he really not? Just dropping one worker off on oil.
That's surprising to me.
So that might indicate that stockpile objective card. Maybe he's going for that stockpile for winter, which is having a lot of resources.
That's a thought.
Um,
But couldn't you also get that with more workers on oil?
right. Yeah. I would have thought more workers on oil so that way you could take advantage of the trade for popularity.
So he could rush the game here with the 2 popularity to enlist 1 recruit, but with 8 workers, I think there's a good chance he runs out of popularity before he's done
Right.
producing.
Well, I mean, that's unlikely if I guess with the way he's positioned his workers, yes, that's true. Yeah, I think that worker placement is strange. I don't agree with it personally.
I think it's going to be telling whether he goes for the 2 popularity or pay $2 to gain 2 food and 2 oil.
He went for the 2 popularity. But he
For the
just
enlist.
balances it out by getting that 2 popularity right back with the recruitment bonus.
Right. But what's his popularity at?
It should stabilize at 3.
3.
So he hasn't spent any yet.
So he has to get, I mean, he'll get a mech with every produce, but he needs 3 more produces to get his mechs out.
That's absolutely right.
So Crimea's
We have
got
Crimea
their mech.
went for
We're probably
speed.
looking at a produce next turn for them to get them to the 3 food that they need.
They
to,
could alternatively go for an enlist because they could trade for a card and then use that card to finish out their enlist. So
That
that
is a
is an
good point.
option for them as well. Kind of a decently flexible opening for Crimea. They could also move if they want to stop at 5 workers, which will get them an encounter as well as repositioning those 5 workers. So Crimea is going for kind of a very generic, flexible start.
So we got a trade for by Albion for 2 metal, it looks like. This
Fair
is
at 2
definitely the
okay.
fastest game I've seen so far.
It is going. People are not slowing down. It's interesting that Albion's trading for the 2 metals because the next produce would have given him enough for the mech anyway. So I guess he just wanted a little surplus for everything said and done.
Maybe so. For me, it's pretty standard so far. I want to see what this Rusviet Innovative is going to do. I'm intrigued by this worker distribution.
Exactly. That's what confuses me here. I feel like it is not the best worker distribution.
But I mean,
guess
maybe he's got something up his sleeve. Maybe he's worked some magical sequence out that he's going to roll out here.
Right.
I mean, I guess if he produces the 7 metal, that gives him 4 remaining. But he can't move off it yet.
Right.
Unless he upgrades his mech. So bear with me here for a second. If he produces 7 metal, spends 3, that leaves him 4. He's gotten 1 oil. The next turn he trades for oil, upgrades the mech. He now has enough metal to make 2 more mechs.
So that is all the mechs he needs from the 1 produce. That's a fair point.
So then he can move somewhere else and start producing something else while finishing off his mechs.
Okay,
So maybe
I
that's
see
what's
that.
going on.
Yeah. So what would he move to do though?
Well, either food or oil, obviously. So, I mean, that's your question. Is it food or oil?
Right.
I would think food. But
I
especially
I
with
would
him
say that
spending the popularity for the enlist, he's probably not going with a high popularity strategy. So food would be the next logical move.
right, but food doesn't net him any coins, but it does combo with moves, so you can move enlist, which lets him get around the board a bit.
And it gets him
He would
combat
need-
cards, which he's going to need to end this game.
So if he did move all 7 of those workers to food, he'd get 7 food, which means that if he managed to upgrade once onto enlist, he could finish enlist as well. So he needs 2 upgrades.
No, he'd be
Yeah.
2 food short. Oh, if he gets one.
No, that would be
upgrade.
right. Yeah, because if he got 7 food, he did the first enlist at full price of 3. Then he'd have 4 left upgrade. He'd be able to finish his enlists. So yeah, this is the right play because he's talking about 1 more produce to finish 2 of his bottom row actions. He can finish his deploy. That's still awkward though, because he has to do the produce column twice more in order to get all of his mechs.
Right. Doesn't do him a lot of good to get everything.
Right. I feel like Rustfield is really setting the pace of this game, and his strategy is odd.
Okay, so we got Crimea with an encounter here. They can gain 2 popularity, take the 3 resources, pay the 3 pop for any 5 resources.
Interesting move.
They went for number 2.
So went with 5 resources.
No, they went for option.
Oh,
he went
for
for
3
option
resources.
2.
So
he took 3
and then went
resources.
for 3 oil and used 2 of the oil to do an upgrade.
Right. So what did he upgrade?
That's what he's debating.
His
He's
Boaster
between. Oh, he went for the mech. He was
and a
thinking about
deploy.
doing the enlist, but
Do you like? It looks like he's going 5 workers. Do you like 5 workers for Crimea Agricultural?
I don't know. It looks like he's not going 5 workers. He only moved 1 off of his worker location, so he can do a produce and finish out 8.
Okay, so he didn't distribute them with the mech.
Right, which I think is a poor choice of actions then. His action economy, I would say, is stunted. He would have been better off doing an extra produce here before doing his move.
Yeah.
Nordic finishing out all 8. No, sorry, not Nordic. Albion finishing out all 8 workers.
That's our second star of the game.
Yep.
Worker star early doesn't mean a whole lot though. It's pretty easy to get. Doesn't usually
Albion
indicate
forgetting to put his
anyone's
star out.
ahead or falling behind. The really fun one is when Rustfield has Foundations of the Empire and they go 8 workers early, and you're 3 turns in and somebody already has 2 stars.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not panic time, right? Because they're easy stars to get.
right. But I mean, it just makes the game that much easier for them to end, you know?
All right, we're back to Rustfield here. So we
So they're
said we're
doing
thinking.
a trade upgrade, which I think, they are going to go for that enlist. So I guess they're going to worry about doing the mech later on.
Okay.
I would say that was a mistake again. I would say that was a mistake. They should have upgraded the deploy action so they can use that 4 metal to finish out their deploys, right?
Is it 4 metal? Okay, yeah, there's 4 metal there. One's hiding under the other.
Yeah. Crimea finishing out their 8 workers,
Yeah,
so
you're right.
almost
8 worker strategy.
so everyone has either 8 workers or no extra workers. That's
I like 8 workers with Crimea Agriculture because the produce is over build, which you don't really want to do that much. But I agree with you. He should have distributed them earlier or gotten to 8 before the move and then distributed them.
Yeah, it's just like a poor action economy. Although at least he did optimize a little bit of that action economy with that upgrade from the encounter.
It's interesting Albion went Burrow, but then, I mean, it looked like he was thinking about going over to the oil tunnel.
And he's thinking about putting a flag down. It's a poor place for a flag. I think this is Albion being relatively rookie.
Yeah, that's just not knowing the rule. That's just not knowing that they don't count as extra territories adjacent to the home base. That's all that is.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is occasionally a situation where you want to have the ability to jump back home, but that is highly unlikely to come up this game, just based on the factions that are at play and the way Nordic is playing, the way Rustfied's going for an economy end. yeah, I just don't anticipate that flag being in any way a good move.
But even if you wanted to jump home, wouldn't you just flag the village?
Most likely, yeah. Or probably just have a worker at home, more likely.
Right. That works too.
Yeah, and if he's leaving that worker on the village, he should have flagged the village when he moved there. But
He hovered it over there
unfortunately,
for a second like he wished he hadn't forgotten, but I think realized obviously that he can't do it now.
right. Tournament rules kind of putting it a little stricter on. I forgot to do that.
Yeah, we've been pretty lax so far as long as it doesn't affect subsequent choices, but
But in this case, it would have been several, like 4 turns maybe
yeah,
late.
a whole
So
round later is pretty late.
I
So
think it's
we're
more
to-
than a whole round.
We're now to Rustviet.
Nordic is, like I said, Nordic is doing exactly what I said: produce, enlist, produce, enlist, produce, enlist, which is ending up really going slow on this whole thing. So he's looking at moving to deploy his first mech soon. I just think this line has taken Nordic kind of out of this game.
Nordic had a difficult row to hoe to begin with. I mean, he's got to. For him, okay. So we're leaving.
Leaving 2 workers on the metal, which will make up for the lack of upgrade to that. Bringing 6 workers with you, which to food, which will be enough to finish all of the enlists with just 1 produce.
But he's got 4 metal. He should just leave the 1 worker, right?
Right, because I'll have to produce twice anyway to get the 2. Yeah, I feel like there's these small lack of optimizations in Rustviet play. Not to mention, why is he bringing all of his combat units with him? They're kind of a little trapped now. He would have been better off moving out the tip of his peninsula towards the tunnel, the village tunnel.
All right. This is the first encounter, right? Yes.
This is his second encounter.
Right,
This is
right.
Rustviet's
The
second
one on
encounter.
the table's the first encounter is what I was looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Gain 1 combat card and 1 popularity. Pay $2 for 4 wood, or pay 2 popularity to enlist a recruit. I mean, you can speed up the game by going for the recruit, but I don't think that's really what he wants. He probably
doesn't have
needs
the-
that. He doesn't have the pop to do that. He probably needs to go for the combat card and the popularity. The wood is just wasted.
Rail
So.
is commenting that with 8 workers and 2 producers needed, he may not care for optimization much anyway. I mean, it's a good point, even with 6 workers on the farm.
Right, but I mean, if he's
gonna
not
get
worried about that optimization, he should keep a worker somewhere else just to have territory control that he doesn't have to think about later.
Suppose you could leave 1 on the village.
Right, or
but
the
you're probably
oil.
coming back through that village anyway.
I would leave 1 on the oil, so that way you have the flexibility to choose to go for an extra upgrade if you need to.
All right, so it's Crimea's turn. He's at 8 workers now. What did he do last time?
Last time he finished his workers, I believe. Yeah, last time he finished his
produced.
workers, so he'll likely go for a move, but then he is only moving the 1 mech, so no, he's going for a bolster enlist, so he's getting his first enlist off, or second enlist. Or no, I think this would be his first enlist. Yeah, first enlist this late in the game for him. I guess it doesn't matter that much because he's only missed
Right.
1 that was gotten off of an encounter, so he wouldn't have gained any
No,
benefit.
it didn't make a difference in the cards he gets.
Whereas now both of his opponents are on food, so they're likely going to be enlisting a lot. So yeah, that was the right play. Getting that enlist bonus now where you can start optimizing those cards.
Albion's got 6 workers on food, so 1 produced gets him enough theoretically with this industrial board for 3 enlists.
Yeah, that's true because of the trade above that action. And he is going for it. I don't know if I agree with this. I guess there's no reason not to do the produce.
No, he's doing a trade, it looks like.
Hmm.
I'm looking at his board up there where he just selected his action, and it looks like he's
Yeah.
going to trade.
And he paid for it, and he's trading for popularity.
Interesting.
You know, I think I'm going to maintain that this is a level of rookie move, because here you would want to trade for at least one metal, so you can do, if next time you produce, you get another mech, right?
I don't disagree with you. So
Or
so
bolster
Nordic
for a little
here
bit
is
of
up to
power.
3 metal now.
So he's probably going to move deploy,
Yeah.
almost certainly.
So it's interesting that Rusvia didn't bump that worker. Maybe because Rusvia took that 2 popularity. He only needs 2 more produces though, and he's got 3 pop. So he could have afforded to bump that worker and set Nordic's game back, but the reality is he might not be that concerned about Nordic sandwiched between him and Albion.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that the only thing holding him back from pushing that worker off would have been the one pop, and if he's thinking he really needs to optimize for that one popularity, because at this point his build has really no room for gaining one more pop. And I guess he assumed, yeah, as seen here, that Nordic will likely move off anyway.
Is Nordic upgraded his enlist?
No, Nordic has done no upgrades.
Because it's a little interesting that he moved off food with 1 enlist to go.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the thing is, if he's going to do his move action now, he doesn't want to have his worker get pushed back after the move action, because that makes him lose, resource potential.
Okay, so now we got the produce out of Rusviet.
Yep, and third mech coming out.
What round are we in? We're in round 8. Round 8 for the 3rd mech is about right for Rusviet. Innovative.
He's got a pile of resources enough to finish 2 of his bottom row actions. And so with those 2 bottom row actions and his mechs and his workers, that'll put him at 3 stars. If he goes for combat, which he is very likely to do, I would say, that could put him up to 5 stars. And then if he can get one objective, then he's looking at game end.
Rail suggested that maybe he didn't bump the Nordic worker because he was keeping enough popularity for a good encounter option, since he couldn't see the encounter till after he moved. But
That
he has
is,
3
yeah.
pop. He needs 2 of them for his last 2 produces.
Well, he knew he needed 1 for a produce, right? For like right now, he could always mix in an extra trade for a pop.
Right, but he's got 2 now, so he needs 1
Right.
more for mech number 4,
But
which meant
you have
he
to
had
imagine,
1 extra popularity. But 1 extra
Right.
popularity isn't enough to pay for an encounter option, is it? They're all
well,
2
so
or more.
let's think about it this way, right? If he had bumped that worker off, he would have been at 2 pop, and then if he got an encounter that he really wanted to spend the 2 pop on, he would have no pop for the next produce he was going to do.
Right.
So that's why Rail is absolutely right about that. Was Rail said that, right? He's absolutely right about that one. Because that would have meant that slowed down his next produce by a whole
Mhm.
turn. So
He's still
more
got 1
conservative
mech
play.
left now, so he's going to be at 1 pop after this last produce.
Right, but the importance was, what if the encounter he got, he wanted to spend 2 pop on because it had a really appealing third choice.
Okay.
No, there wasn't, which is why he still has popularity to spare, but it was possible that there was a very appealing choice. So now, all right.
Now we got the produce out of Albion.
I guess he ended up undoing his trade and going for the metal instead of the popularity, because there's no other way he would have 4 metal here. Which, I think that's okay. If he did the trade action, he was just choosing between popularity and items.
Yeah. And that was the right call on his part. Definitely.
Yeah, because that way he can actually take advantage of the bottom row during this produce action. Although I still think he should have moved once more before doing it, because that enlist, while enlist is a good action, he's going to do it late. He's going to do it slow. He's not going to gain any coins from it. He's going to end up paying coins for his enlist. I think this food is going to sit there wasted or will end up hurting him.
Now we see Rusviet going for the factory here.
I also think it's really strange that Nordic went for the speed mech here.
With him being landlocked and only one space away from his encounter anyway.
Right. There's no reason to get that over. Honestly, Seaworthy would have been the play, I think. That way he can try to maybe put some work in on some of the lower power factions. Like right now, Rusviet at 0 power, Nordic can potentially start just racking in some stars off of him and hurting his board movement.
This is where Rusviet starts to spread.
Mm-hmm.
Which he's got the worker star, right? He's got, how much food does he have? He has 6 food.
6. He's got enough to finish all of his enlists.
Because he upgraded his enlist.
So he's using township to jump to the factory after river walking. He's moving another one of his mechs with almost all of his workers, spreading out a little bit. And his last move, I would want to move my other mech to just hold the rest of my home territory. I would move one worker to oil and move my other mech to the factory, to the village. That's what I would do. A little bit more territory control.
Would you bring all that food with you?
Absolutely not. Not with 0 power.
I mean, no one's on the board.
Yeah, no one can get to you, but like it does mean that that's something you might need to respond to.
Oh, I see. I think you're right, Rail. He says he doesn't want to produce. Okay, so he didn't bump the Nordic worker because he wasn't going to produce the last time. So if he bumped the Nordic worker, he'd be out of popularity, right? Or excuse me, if he'd bumped the Nordic worker, he'd be out of popularity right now. If he hadn't bumped the Nordic worker and taken an option for 2 popularity, he'd also be out of popularity right now. But Rail just pointed out he's probably not going to produce the last time. He has 3 metal. He's probably just going to use the deploy action. So I was struggling with the math that you guys were saying on that popularity earlier, because if he'd taken a 2-pop option, he wouldn't have had enough popularity for this 4th produce and 4th mech.
Exactly.
But that's why he left the worker, so he wouldn't need it.
Exactly.
That ends up making a lot of sense. I feel like we've talked a lot about Rusviet in this game.
I mean, Rusviet overall is going to set the pace of a game, and an innovative especially is a board that is a pace-setting board as well, given how fast they can do things.
So we're in round 9 here. We got 2 mechs out of Crimea and 1 enlist. I also
feel like
we're going to see a move action here pretty soon, right? We're going to see Crimea want to get on that mountain.
Yeah, and they're going to want Crimea is going to take another encounter there. Yep. Crimea is, so I think this is the other thing that's making us talk about Rusviet a lot, is that Crimea is taking a very standard approach to the game, right? Albion is taking kind of an optimized strategy. Nordic's taking it very slow. So I would say Rusviet's is taking the most interesting moves. Although this approach, putting 7 workers on food, that's a choice.
Well, I guess he's planning on producing twice more.
Yeah.
Or no, he doesn't. Well, he doesn't need to have any workers on metal because his trade action's over his deploy with the agricultural board.
It's
if
true.
He's willing to spend the card for those last 2 mechs, he doesn't even need the 1 worker on metal.
2 food and a pop, pay 2 for a worker and any 2 resources, or pay 2 pop to enlist a recruit. Huh. I think if I think I would, in his situation, take the 3rd option, because Rusviet's going to be rushing the game, and you want to try and finish that enlist action. I know it does not mesh with how you just moved your workers, but I would want to get that recruit just to be able to take one less turn. I'm also curious how. Oh, he's going to upgrade using an extra card.
I think maybe. Oh, did I look at the wrong
Right.
encounter?
He has the. It's
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Thanks, Rail. Yeah, this is, you were talking about this one where pay 2 popularity to enlist 1 recruit.
yeah.
Yeah, I looked at
Which
the
he
wrong.
didn't do.
I was showing the
He
wrong
went for the
encounter
top
on the
option.
screen, and it was 3 popularity for 5 resources. So I was a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit confused by your analysis, but
That was their that was their first option.
Rail came through with us there for us there.
I think I don't agree with that. I don't agree with his choice there. 2 food and a pop. I mean, maybe if he's going to try and get to that tier 2 popularity by the
I think
time
he is.
Rusviet ends,
He hasn't.
that's smart.
Has he? He started at 4. He's taken 1 off one of the encounters, and he's looking at. He's going to get 2 more off his enlist recruits. He hasn't gotten
That's
that,
true.
right?
That's true. He has not.
I keep forgetting that in the tabletop version you can actually check that. Yeah, he's got the tier 2 without. Yeah, you can't check that in the digital edition.
Yeah, the digital edition. I have some complaints about. I actually don't play very much because of connection issues and like silly mistakes can just totally screw you because I forgot to move that worker and that's it.
It's definitely an adjustment. I'm a big fan, but I acknowledge it has some shortcomings.
I mean, I've been playing a lot of the Terraforming Mars digital edition that I got recently, and it just is such a better design. It's just much cleaner. It works better.
It's also Asmodee, though, right?
Yeah, it is. That's true. Asmodee
TTS
Digital
has its
does have its
shortcomings
problems.
too. Thank you, Rail. It's
It's true.
fair.
TTS
It's very
does.
fair-minded of you. My only real complaint with TTS, I'm fairly new to it as a way to play Scythe, is that you can watch and see how many combat cards people put in there. I know you have the bluff card, but for that to work, I think you really need more bluff cards, in my opinion. It's a little cumbersome to check, and people don't usually do it. I understand, but I still don't like that there's the potential there to.
The card count.
Yeah.
I think that's
been my only complaint beyond just the getting used to the interface.
yeah. Green is getting used to the interface. He's not aware that flipping cards in his hand doesn't let other players see it. See, I think that's actually part of the game, though. I think Stegmeyer, when he designed the game, intended that to be. Oof. I think Stegmeyer actually intended card counting to be part of the strategy of the game, which is why he published the card numbers next to the combat card deck. So Blue's got his first encounter.
I'm not talking about like how many 5s are left in the game card counting. I'm talking about you can see how many cards someone picks up and puts in their box.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. However, typically we play that like you can put as many or as few as you'd like, and only the ones that are face up are the ones that count.
Interesting. That's a nice little house rule edit.
Right.
Create
So
more
technically,
bluff cards.
you're only allowed to have face up ones equal to the number of mechs you have. But if you put like 6 cards in there, that's fine. You know.
Interesting.
That's how I've always done it, at least. So Blue's got his first encounter. Could gain 2 pop. Could pay 4 to deploy a mech, or could pay 2 pop to gain 2 combat cards and 3 power. Looks like he is paying 3 for a mech.
4, right?
4, paying 4. Sorry.
We need to make sure he pays 4. That's the only reason I'm asking.
I'll be honest. I forgot that he did move coins. I see 2 that failed to fall into the box.
He's got him.
That was me, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't notice if it was all 4 or just 2. That's the one thing I will say. I think there is a degree of required honesty, though, right?
Yeah, Rail, it is an expensive mech. There's no doubt about that. Especially for the militant board where you get so much coin to make your mechs.
Right. But I bet he's thinking that, game is likely to end and he wants to finish it out. Finish a star.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the strategy is too slow for Nordic outright. I don't see them being a substantial threat.
So, what's the coin situation here? Rusty is sitting on 6 coin.
Nordic's got the biggest stack with 14.
For me is tied.
Everybody else is at 5 or 6.
Nordic has 14 coin. Rusviet is winning, but are they 16 coin winning right now?
Well, 2 stars ahead. You got to look at that as 6 coins.
Sure.
So if just those 2 stars puts Rusviet at 12 coins, so they're technically down by 2 coins compared to Nordic. However, they're much more likely to, they're in a much better board position
Sure,
in terms of.
they've got a lot of territory, and since they're just enlisting repeatedly now, they can just kind of spread out at will.
Exactly. And squeeze in one more deploy wherever they have time to do so.
Should we?
Oh no,
I count 4 mechs. Should that 3 metal be gone?
No, because he used the factory card. He paid 2 coins to get a mech and a power.
Okay, we didn't talk about the factory card.
Right, that's because he was still deciding when he grabbed it. So I find that a strange pick. I'm tempted to look at what the other options were.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can, but you can't tell me or the stream what they are if you do.
I will, and I will not tell you what they are. Oh. I objectively would say that was a bad option.
Okay, well, we'll give it some time, and maybe someone else will pick the one you saw, and talk about it then. What do you think, Rail? Why do you think he went with this factory card? You got a thought? Did he want the power?
But 2 coins for 1 power going forward is not great.
I think it's fine. He didn't want to produce again, so using it for mobility. But
he's got a lot of cards, though. Oh, he's doing a battle.
But he paid 2 coins instead of getting 2 coins for just using the bottom action.
Are you seeing this? That he rushed in and attacked Albion at his village?
Mm-hmm. Albion's got 5 power and 2 cards.
Versus 3 power, and Rusviet has all their mechs, so he can use 2 cards.
Right.
So, I mean, advantage definitely goes to Rusviet here.
Right. Yeah, of course,
Even if
People's Army.
Even if he only has 2s, he could still spend 7 power.
Of course. We got the mech star.
Nope.
And the worker star for Rusviet.
Green is still definitely figuring out the game. He did not flip his card before moving it across the board.
We've got enlist number 3 at the end of this turn. In round 10.
For Rusviet? Nope. He did the factory card.
Oh,
so
he
he's not
moved the
enlisting.
factory card this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got his final mech, and he got his final mech, and did the move for the battle. So it's a 2-star turn for him.
So Rail points out something. I think I know what you're saying, Rail.
So 9 to 9. Rusviet takes it.
The thing about getting the factory card with the mech deploy is he does pay 2 coin, and he does lose out on the coin he could have got from using the bottom row action, but he gets to combine his last deploy with a movement action, which
is
theoretically speeds the game up if he can't get his objective in other combat in the next 2 moves that it takes him to spin the food.
That is fair if you only plan on using the factory once.
And in this game, he probably will only use it once since he has Relentless.
So he did lose the 1 pop to force that worker back. Crimea is going for another enlistment. not going for the popularity bonus, which I find surprising.
Well, at this point, he has no star, 1 star, and 2 territories, so it would just be 3 more coin for him, right?
He has 3 territories, but yeah,
4 coin.
4. I mean, that's 4 bonus coins. Instead, he went for the 2 power. I guess he's going for the combat power star, hopefully. But I think that is likely to track in there later. I think getting the popularity is more important early because that's 4 coins you get, right? If you get the power now, he's already above that 7 threshold, which means he's already at the power peak for fights, and that star isn't worth as much unless he has the pop. So I would have gone for the popularity first and the power later.
So Albion's got 1 power, and he's still got 2 combat cards. So Rail thinks Rusty it's about to attack Albion again. He could do that. He could go for Crimea. Crimea's got 1 lone.
Oh, it's very likely that Rusfeed will go for another attack on Albion.
Yeah, Crimea's sitting on 12 power. So even though
like Rusfeed doesn't care about losing the pop, obviously.
I mean, he's got 3 units right there now, but he's just got 2
But
cards.
he only has 2 combat cards, right?
It doesn't matter.
And Rusviet can play 2 combat cards as well because he's got People's Army.
However, he did get shield.
Oh, that is fair. So that means he's actually looking
changes
at
the calculus a little bit.
Not really, because Rusviet will have 3 power to Albion's 2 cards to 2 cards. I mean, of course, if Albion had better cards, but Albion played a 4, which means you have to assume his other 2 cards are at best 4s. So that means Albion's P is 10. Whereas, Rusviet with 5 cards likely could beat that peak.
So Rusviet takes on Albion this turn.
Yeah.
Knocks him, spreads out a little bit.
Gets
Let's
another
assume he's got
list.
some sort of objective that's based on territory. This is round 11. So Rusviet takes the combat star number 2 in round 11. Does his next to last enlist, and then ends it in turn 12. If he can get the objective.
Well, hold on. If he can get an objective this turn, a combat this turn, that'll give him 2 more stars, and then he'll only have 1 enlist left, which he can do next turn.
Right, turn 12.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, he could get the objective this turn, or he could get the objective next turn. It wouldn't matter.
True.
If he's got a doable objective, we're looking at a round 12 finish, which is about right for Rusviet Innovative, I think.
And Albion just made that spot so much more appealing by piling up a bunch of resources.
Yeah. How much food is there?
7.
7.
8.
8.
8 actually. Yeah.
Rail says Rusviet's going to end in 12 turns, and then tongue in cheek, despite the optimization shortcomings.
It's true.
Yeah, we're just doing our best here in real time to figure out what his strategy is, but he had a plan, no question.
Yeah, it was that he saw it better than we did, which typically happens when you're the one making the plan.
So Pfeiffer, do you hold off to get more coins? I think Rusviet right now is just depending on the
I don't know why he would do that.
Stars and the territories. Now he must be feeling.
He should leave the worker behind if he's attacking with 2 units because control and his 2 cards versus 2 cards. I think that's just a lack of observation of the fact that blue actually has 2 power. How did blue get 2 power? Wait.
Quintuser, thanks for the follow. So, do you think Rusviet moves back onto the factory for the last move in the last enlist? It makes sense, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering where Albion got 2 power from.
Shield.
Because but they haven't. He had it already. Like they didn't, unless he moved it up just way quicker than I could notice.
No, he was at 0 last time.
Right.
Now he has 2 because he just got attacked. Rail thinks Rusviet has bad cards, which is why he's bringing in 3 units. That could very well be.
Could be. playing
He's
it safe.
spreading out too, so we're going to see the penultimate on the list this turn.
Bringing all that food with him.
But it doesn't really matter where it is that much. I mean, that's a.
You have to presume he's going to win this combat, so then he has his food to spend.
We'll see. Crimea could move next turn to that wood tunnel. Nordic could as well because he has speed and seaworthy.
Now,
Will
Seaworthy
pointed
would
out.
only get him to the tunnel. It wouldn't get him through the tunnel.
If he'd left it on the wood tunnel.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So if he'd left it on the wood tunnel, both Crimea and Nordic could make a play for it. Where he is now, neither one of them can get to it. So that's why he brought it with him. I mean, he's going to get plenty of food if he wins this combat, but it's points, right? And he's going to need every point because he bid 16. I'm kind of excited to see what this end score is because I've kind of been wondering this whole tournament. Everybody knows how fast Rust-Viet Innovative can end it and that it's really hard to beat. But it doesn't score the most points, not as much as Militant, not as much as some other boards. So you can know you're going to win the game, but are you going to win the game after bids? And how high can you go and still win the game after bids? So I'm interested to see if this is a close game. Let's check the coin real quick and see where we're at.
I mean, he's at 6. Albion's at 8. Nordic has only gained 1 in all that, so only at 15. And Crimea's at 9. I think if Crimea gets the 1 more turn to get that 2 more pop, although they did just enlist, didn't they? See, this is the thing. If Crimea had that 2 more pop, I think Crimea would have this game. But I think as it stands, they're not gonna get the opportunity. Because if Crimea had gone for that 2 more pop, they could spend this turn just taking territories and being pretty much sure that Rust-Viet's going to end it the next turn. Right? Crimea now has the opportunity to take the factory and to spread out. If they had that 2 more pop, they could easily gain, like with, 6 more territories here, maybe? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
So Russ is placing his combat star. I didn't see the numbers, but it looked like green just threw a 2.
Yeah. Well, you did it through 2, yeah.
And Rust-Viet's down to 2 combat cards.
Kind of feel bad for green being relatively new to the game, getting beat up on. But I guess that's what you get when you decide to play in a tournament.
I like the worker tower there.
Total accident from the snap point, but yeah.
Still like it.
Oh, thank you. So Rust-Viet has just the 1 enlist left. Has objective potential as well. So it wasn't an objective here, so there's no objective for controlling 3 farm territories. We can establish that. Otherwise, you think he would have done that out of safety. Yeah, I still think I'm right about that, about going for popularity, because you have to assume this is the last turn of the game if you are Crimea. And you have no way to get yourself to tier 2 pop outside of somehow getting another encounter.
Yeah. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but sometimes it's not just about having a plan, it's knowing when to abandon the plan and do something else.
Exactly.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't usually go for popularity first or second when I'm doing my enlists, but
True, but in the
situational
situation
awareness, I think you're right. It would have definitely
when somebody's
made
going
this
to end the
game
game
closer.
super soon, yeah.
So I like this. Well, Here's the question: can Crimea win this combat and still be sitting on enough power that Rustviet can't retake the factory next turn? Because
So-
Rustviet is going to move next turn.
So Rustviet can play 2 cards here. So Rustviet's theoretical max is 12, which is the same as Crimea's theoretical max. So assuming they have all 5s, Crimea wins. But assuming Crimea does not have a 5, Rustviet has some serious potential. Right? Like average cards wise, this is a tied fight, which is kind of the sad part of.
All right, he wasn't done moving.
Yeah, he just made a mistake of moving. He moved a worker. All right.
Because I mean, that's township, right? Even if he wins this fight, Rustviet can come back and hit him with 3 units on the factory.
Right.
And I mean, it's not about the combat anymore; it's about the territory. And he's got to move anyway for the enlist, and he has food galore. Crimea can't take it all. Hey, Wingspan 64. Yeah, this is the tabletop simulator, and we're about to finish game. What's this? Game 5 of the tournament. Wingspan, are you in the side Discord? Yeah, a lot of people chatting about it on there. There's a tournament chat channel. There's a tournament information channel. It's too late to sign up, but if you want to keep up
Okay.
with it, you can check in there.
So Crimea did take the win. It was close though. So 6 spent by Rustviet to 11 spent by Crimea. It looked like.
You think that means Crimea it doesn't have a 5? Or maybe they just have
I
one
don't-
and they saved it.
Yeah, I would have said it was not a risk per se for Crimea to not spend the 5. You know, if Crimea had the 5, they guaranteed the win. But I think you're right. Rustviet didn't have a lot riding on that spot. So losing that territory.
Now Rustviet can only hit with 2 units because Crimea, or does Crimea not have scout?
Crimea
do
does
not
not
have
have
scout.
scout.
So they can hit him with 3 cards.
Crimea also, well, Rustviet also already has both combat stars, so Rustviet could potentially gain more than 3 territories, you know, just by spreading out. So there is a cost benefit here.
You can take this worker and mech here. You can drop 1 worker on oil, and you can take this tunnel.
Let's take a look at the factory card that Crimea picked, because I feel like this would have been a better factory card for. I mean, granted, I tend to play a long game, so you have to take that with that as it is. But when you have all 8 workers out, I feel like this factory card that Crimea picked is the strongest in the game.
Rail disagrees with you.
Well,
Yeah,
I am curious.
the thing is, when he went on the factory, though, he didn't need the last produce.
It's
He
true.
had 3 metal. He had
Contextually, you're
3
absolutely
mechs. And there's no bottom row action with this produce. So the only reason he would need to produce at all was for the bottom row action.
right. Right. And I guess if you're thinking of the factory card, it's just like basically an extra encounter, so to speak.
And this game was so quick that it was.
Yeah.
So Albion's taking what is almost certainly his last turn.
And he can't do much with it.
Did he move last turn?
He did not. He produced last turn, which was one of the. Remember, I mentioned how that I thought that was not a great move because it just empowers Rustviet with all that food.
I mean, you might as well attack Rustviet and go all out, right? Hope to weaken him a little bit so he feels uncomfortable with attacking Crimea.
It's still 2 cards versus 3, though.
He's going to do it.
Yeah, Albion did not play a good game, I would say. And this is not. I'm not trying to insult a player. I just you know, there were a lot of places where his choices just did not lead to either good economy or good board position. So he did hurt Rustviet down to 0 power. So Rustviet's theoretical max goes down. Albion's theoretical max is
So let's say Crimea has a 5 because he saved it last time. In that case, Crimea can go 10. So Rustviet with 3 cards. Wait, Rustviet just has 1 card.
as he just put a bunch in his dial. But he's spending 3 cards on this combat.
Huh.
Or at least he put 3 in his dial. Whether or
One
not
of them
he's
might
spending
be
them,
a
I guess.
bluff card.
It's true.
But I mean, if Rustviet doesn't retake the factory, it might be close. I mean, maybe not.
Oh, Rustviet spent 2 5s and a 4 on that combat. 14. That is more than Albion's theoretical max. Albion's theoretical max was 12.
Well, but he had 0. He had 0 power,
that's
right?
right.
So
He
he
had
might
0
not have
power, so he
been
couldn't
able to
really-
make it exact.
Precisely. Green is struggling here.
There's a lot of stuff on that hex to move, no doubt about
Yeah.
that.
All right.
So how many? What we say there was 8 food there. So 2
There.
to
Well,
1,
he spent 2, so it's down to 6 there.
6 food
Plus
there.
he's
So
got
that
4
was
on the
that was
adjacent.
3. That was 5 points there if he loses that territory.
Right.
And
I mean, there's no doubt that Red was going to put up a fight, but spending cards of that caliber is a big wager. That means that he's likely not going to try and fight Crimea at the factory. At least I would expect not.
So Crimea's sitting on 8 hexes. Rustviet has
Rustviet's got
6.
a bunch. 1, 2,
Count 6
3.
for
Oh,
Rustviet.
you're right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he did lose 2 last turn. You're right. So he's done this 6.
So Crimea has a 4-coin advantage in territory. Rustviet's going to get a 6-coin advantage in stars, so that's 2 coins for Rustviet. I see 6 coins on Rustviet's mat. I see 9 on Crimea's. Rustviet's got to pick up some territory.
Yeah, I feel like you're right about the wager is going to become the biggest fault.
I mean, my intuition was Rustviet needs the factory.
16 is huge.
Because that's
16 is
not just
huge.
3 more territories. That's 3 more away from Crimea. It's 6 territories. So, I mean, we could do the math here.
So Rustviet would obviously fight. So Rustviet has to fight for the 3 territories at the center. Probably go for a 1 card to 1 card, right? But Crimea's got 5 power, so
He can't take the. Oh, but Nordic can.
yeah. This is why Nordic should have had Seaworthy earlier.
Crimea's sitting on 15 coin. They win this. They're looking at 4 territories. No stars.
Nordic has a lot of cards to pick from. Crimea only had 3. Nordic had what, 7?
Nordic is trying to secure 3rd or even
Nordic.
2nd here, I think.
I mean, I think after wager, Nordic and Crimea are the 2 are gonna real close.
If Nordic doesn't attack Crimea on the factory,
So Nordic just did. And Nordic did win.
I'm not sure Rustviet wins this. Not with the 16 coin bid.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Nordic's getting a whole bunch more coins here. Another stack, 4 coins for another deploy.
So let's see here. Rustviet's going to have a 15 coin advantage over Nordic by stars, right? 5 times 3.
Yeah.
He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 territories to Nordic's 4. So that's what do we say? 5 stars, 15.
The other big thing is assuming Rustviet does not end this turn, which I don't think Rustviet wants to anymore.
No, I mean, I think Rails thinks that Rustviet is has it now that Crimea's lost the factory, and that's probably right.
Yeah, Nordic doesn't have a lot of territories. And no
Or
way to look
stars.
at it. Nobody's getting tier 2 pop.
But Nordic definitely takes third or maybe even second now.
Crimea's got how many territories? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 territories to Nordic's 4. Nordic's got a lot larger stack than Crimea, so Nordic is in the better position compared to Crimea. I think it really comes down to whether or not the wager kills Rusviet.
Hey, Knight, how's it going tonight? Yeah, I mean, I think... So, Knight, we got 7 coins over here for Rusviet. We've got 19 for Nordic. Albion's sitting on... Looks like 8 coin.
I didn't
And
realize there's an
Crimea's
extra worker
got
over there.
9. But the stars over here, Rusviet's about to end it. Nordic's just got the
No,
one star.
Rusviet's just doing a 3 move. That's it.
Well, that's
Going
his,
for an
that's,
encounter.
that's his move to end it. Because he's going to get
Oh,
his last
so
enlist.
yeah, he did his encounter as well. So enlist and encounter. He got 5
Objective?
territories surrounding. Yeah, sorry, objective. Yeah, 5 territories surrounding the lake. So he doesn't go for the factory. Ends the game. Okay.
So if you're just joining us, Rusviet's placed his 6 star. So here were the bids. Rusviet came in at negative 16. So he's got a long road to hoe. Crimea came in at negative 9. Nordic was free. And Albion was negative 5.
I think Nordic being free puts them in a serious potential to win this game.
I mean, I think Nordic has second in this game.
16 points. 16 points down. Sure. Rusviet's got what, 5, 6, 7, 8 territories?
8 territories, 6 stars. So that's
6 stars. The stars are huge. Yeah.
18 is. Yep, Nordic Militant takes Crimea Agricultural.
So Crimea final points is only 16. Rusviet does take the win with 32 points.
By 2 coin ahead of Nordic. I don't think he thought it was that close. That's 1 territory. Wow. Wow.
Ooh.
You're breathing a sigh of relief there if you're Rusviet, because that was your game to lose the entire time, and then it was just that close.
Yeah.
Now, Nordic had fewer units, so Nordic would have needed 3 more coin in that. So, but think about it this way. If Nordic had an upgraded move, and he had been able to use
if he had
either only moved 1 unit to the factory, or he'd had an upgraded move, he could have turned around and taken this wood spot and this oil spot, and that would have been enough to win the game.
Yep.
That's how close it was.
Or if Nordic had been willing to risk it and do a 1 card to 1 card fight at the factory.
But then I think maybe he was thinking he'd have to spend too much power that Rusviet might have been able to take it back, because he had to hold it.
It's true. But I guess the other thing was Rusviet taking it back wasn't. I don't think it would have been as big a threat because Rusviet had already taken it and not acquired an objective, not acquired an objective, right? So I think it was clear at that point Rusviet was going for an objective for final star, and factory was not included in that.
Yeah.
So
congratulations to Rusviet, of course, but significant honorable mention has to go for Nordic for pulling second place out from the fire at the last minute here.
Yeah, well, having a no point deduction at the end, definitely helped a lot. Going for that coin economy. If he had gotten 1 more star, he had 2 bottom row actions that he was one move off of finishing.
Now, just to double check something, these scores up on the screen are all pre-deduction, right?
Right. So I typed in post deduction scores into the chat.
Okay. So did Nordic beat Crimea even before the deduction?
He did
Okay.
by 5 points.
So Crimea was actually at 14 to Albion's. No, I'm sorry, 16 to Albion's 8 after deductions. Okay.
That is correct.
Well, that was
That
a
is
quick game.
correct.
What is it, 9:30? So we got through that in an hour and a half. That went by pretty quickly,
I would say it's about standard, but they did play on the quick side.
especially
I mean,
in the
how many-
beginning.
Final turn count was only 12 rounds. Wow, that is a fast
So
game.
what did we learn here about what Rustviet Innovative is worth? Is Rustviet Innovative worth 16 coins?
It seems like they're pretty close to worth 16 coins. I think they played a pretty tight game. Definitely a couple little places where there could have been slightly more optimal. But you also have to account for the fact that they did have the advantage to take some stars off of a new and weak player, right? With
And that
very little
food.
pay.
And that food.
Yeah, and that food.
He doesn't
right?
have that
Yeah,
8
that
food,
food
he doesn't win the
actually.
game.
That's true. Yeah, so I think it's probably not quite worth 16. Probably worth 13.
Rail says 18, so I guess we'll have to figure that out another day. Yarantar, do you mind posting the stats to the vanilla score and the bids in the modular?
Will do.
All right, man. Good to talk with you. Good to go through this game with you, and have a good night, man.
Oh, wait, I'm not sure how I'm posting it in the modular. Oh, okay. All right, I see that now. I can do that. Cool.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You want, shoot me a follow, and we'll be back here tomorrow night for another game.